Hey everybody, Unstable Gamer here, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome back to Lord of the Rings Heroes of Middle-earth. Today we're going to be taking a look at the game and asking the question, is the game going to make it? I have some facts and some thoughts to share with you, and then I'd like to hear from you as well. But first, before we do, if you're just now finding this channel and you want to stay up to date with this and other games, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out. All right, and welcome back. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about this a little bit. This game, there's been a lot of questions around, is the game failing? Is it going to die? Is it going to last? That's my question. Is the game going to last? And in all honesty, nobody really knows, but I have some information. I have some data to share that will at least give us some insight into how the game is performing right now. Now, the game has only been out for a couple months, and typically what you see in a newly launched game is the first 3 months, it's riding high, it's bringing in a lot of players, and then after the first 3 months, you start seeing it normalize a little bit, and you'll start getting a good idea of what that player base might look like, and then it'll continue to grow typically after that over a long period of time. Now, when it comes to the money that the game is making, that's always something that's good to look at as well. Now, when you try and compare this game to other games, it's kind of unfair because, again, this game is just recently launched. There are some challenges and some concerns that I have that I'll share with you as well. But it's hard to match this game with another game, especially with like Marvel Strike Force, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, because those games have been out for so long. It's had some time to generate players and to generate money. So if we take a look at this, if we just take a look at the performance of this game right now, Sensor Tower is a site that I've gone to and I've used quite a bit over the years. And when I do videos like this, I usually refer back to it. I did learn of another site that we're going to take a look at as well that tends to back up some of this information. So in the last month, this just looks at the last 30 days. We've had, 600,000 downloads. Now between Android and iOS, you'll always typically see, I won't say always, but you will typically see that Android has more downloads than iOS. I think that's really because there's probably more Android phones out there than there is iOS phones. But you'll also see the revenue on the iOS platform will tend to be pretty on par with what the Android revenue is. So as you can see right here, 500,000 between the two platforms, so $1 million in the last 30 days. Now, when it comes to how accurate this is, I don't know for sure. Now, I do know at one time I was talking to a game director at Marvel, and he was mentioning to me that these numbers are pretty low usually. So I take this in as kind of a ballpark. I don't take it as this is exactly what the game has made, but they're probably lower numbers. Now that was in reference to the game that this game director was working on. So just take this as a ballpark figure. So in the last 30 days, 600,000 downloads with $1 million made. Now that may seem like a lot of money, but it really isn't. Some of these games are pulling in millions and millions of dollars, but again, they've been on the market for a while. So let's take a look at this other site that I learned about recently. This is AppMagic. What I like about this site is it gives me an opportunity to take a look at the lifetime, how many downloads and how much money the game has made in its lifetime, right? So just in the last 30 days, you can see pretty on par, 500,000 downloads and $500,000 in revenue in the last 30 days. This is taking a look at both platforms. So it's a little shy on the downloads because we had about 600,000 downloads and $1 million. This does say greater than 500,000 though. So again, ballpark, right? Now, if we take a look at the lifetime of this game's only been out for a few months. It's made a couple $1 million. So in the last 2 months, the game's been out. This doesn't include August data yet because we don't have that. Typically, that waits for the next month. So $2 million in the last, since the game has been live. Now, downloads, it's 1 million. All right. Is that good? Is it not? In the first 3 months, I don't know. I think it's really low compared to some other games that have launched, right? But let's compare this to Star Wars. And one of the reasons why I can't really tell you, or nobody can really tell you if this game is going to fail, because EA is huge. It has tons of money. And I'm going to compare this to another game that's been out for, 7 years? That is still going, but it's not, at least when you take a look at ratings and revenue, it's underperforming as well. But if you take a look at Star Wars, look at this. In the last 30 days, $5 million with greater than 200,000 downloads. We take a look at the lifetime. Look at that. That's a lot of money. $500 million. Lifetime downloads is 50 million downloads. This company is making a lot of money. So even if the players don't put a whole bunch of money into the game, this company can keep this game going for a while. So let's compare that to DC Legends right here. DC Legends, it's been out for 7 years now. It is still going. They just recently put out an update, I think, a few weeks ago. The last 30 days, a little more than $100,000, a little more than 200,000 downloads. In the lifetime, it's only made $20 million. 7 years, $20 million. That is really, really low. Lifetime downloads, 20 million downloads, a little more than that as well. So again, when you take a look at ratings for this game as well, let's just take a look at it. If you take a look at when this game came out, downloads right here on Apple, 4.5 out of 17,000. That's it, 17,000 reviews, 4.5. I don't think, we might have, right here, Google Play, 4.1 out of almost 500,000 votes. Again, that's pretty low. When you take a look at Lord of the Rings, we're sitting at 1 million plus downloads on, again, this is the Google store, with 32,000 reviews. On iOS, it's much lower than that. I think we're around 8,000 reviews, but it's still getting a 4.6, I think, maybe, on iOS. So the review count is fairly low. It's in the 4-star range, which is good. But like I said, this game here, this has been out for a long time. It's still going. They just recently put an update on it. So is this game going to survive? It can. It can if the company wants it to. It's completely up to the company to make that decision, right? Do they want to continue to put in the IP, put money into the IP? It's not the IP that really determines whether this game is going to succeed, because I've seen games over the years fail that are part of massive IPs. I mean, one that I thought was kind of a fun game, it was kind of a card game, tic-tac-toe type format, and that was Marvel Battle Lines. But that didn't last very long at all. They shut that down. We had Marvel Future Revolution. Unfortunately, that was a fun game that I enjoyed for a while. That game is actually shutting down this month. So just the IP isn't enough to keep the game going. It's you. It's you, the player. It's all of us deciding to say, hey, we are going to play that game. And then obviously the company, do they want to continue to put the money into it? So I think the game can survive. It just really depends on the company. It depends on all of us if we want to continue to play it. But again, like I said, you could have a low player base and the game could still be out for several years. So just something to keep in mind there. So with that, let's talk about some of my concerns about the game. Honestly, it's really just a few, because the game isn't bad. It really isn't. And it's not the artwork or anything like that. I actually enjoy the artwork. I like that they're trying to stay true to the original art design of J.R.R. Tolkien. So I'm okay with that. That's not a big deal at all. One thing that I do have a concern with, and this isn't too horrible for newer games. However, there's about 10 minutes worth of gameplay in this game. You log in every now and then, you claim some energy. And then actually when you do that, it's even less, especially once you get further in the game, because you just burn through that energy pretty quick just by auto-completing battles, right? So that's my concern. The only time, now that we have the raid out, the only time you spend more than 10 minutes in the game, and you can stretch it out to 30, maybe 40 minutes, and that's when you're going into the raids. And you're doing your 5 attempts, you're trying to get the highest score that you can, but that's just 1 day a week. That's it. You go in there, you get it done, and then just the rest of the week, you got about 10 minutes worth of gameplay. So there's not enough content. Typically, when games launch, a lot of games launch with much more content than this game has launched. That doesn't mean that not more is coming, right? So if we take a look at Discord, I wanted to point this out. This was on the 9th here. They do mention that they're working on some other fixes with stuff coming up. They're also working on some additional content coming up in the near future. So we see at least some more stuff is coming. What it is, I don't know. Hopefully it lets us play the game a little bit more than 10 minutes. But if it goes in any direction other than, any direction like Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes or Marvel Strike Force, it will get to a point where you're going to put quite a bit of time into the game. It just takes time to get there. So I think the content is coming. Let's see. Next, the marquee events. So that was number 1. Next is the marquee events. I have an issue with 2 characters being released every month that you have to pay for. No. Let me correct that. You can free-to-play unlock them, but in order for them to be effective right away, then you have to pay for them, which is, I think, is okay. I would prefer 1 marquee a month. I'm a little more sensitive to this than others, I think. I think, depending on who you are, I think some players have much more of an issue with this than others. I'm just one of those players. So I think what it does, it just creates a large gap between your pay-to-play and your free-to-play players. I think there should be a gap. Players who put money into the game absolutely deserve to have the newest and greatest thing early, right? I just think the separation between free-to-play and pay-to-play should be around, I don't know, I think 3 to 4 months is pretty decent. If it goes 6 months and longer, I think that's way too much of a gap. So we'll see. The game's only been out for a couple months, so we'll see kind of what that gap looks like as we continue down the road. The other big issue that I have with this game, and I've said it before, and I watched another creator's video as well, and he mentioned it. But like I said, the lack of innovation in the game is a concern for me. Maybe they're going for the more older school nostalgia of the game, because this is more true to an older, and by older I'm talking about what, 5 to 10 years, turn-based RPG games. Not really a gacha game, but a turn-based RPG game. It's just, there's nothing really to set it apart other than the IP. Now, on Discord, there was a question that I asked about what are you going to do with this game that's going to set it apart from Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes, because the raid is a copy and repeat of what they did with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes just a few months ago. All the mechanics and everything are a repeat of Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes and Marvel Strike Force and those types of games. So what are you going to do to really make this game stand out and stand apart, right? Because any successful business, you want to continue to innovate and move forward to draw people in, right? So they answered that by saying they can't really give any details, but they do have some plans for that down the road. So we'll see what that looks like. I'm excited to see it. I'm gonna continue to play the game. I'm enjoying it. Just because I have concerns about it doesn't mean I'm not going to play it, and I'll continue to cover it. So I think really, is this game going to be successful? I think it can. It has the potential to be. It just really depends on what the roadmap looks like over the next several months and the next several years. Typically, when a game developer starts working on a game, they've got a roadmap at least. You know, when that game launches, they got at least a roadmap, it seems, for at least the first 1, 2, or 3 years. So I'm sure we're going to see some stuff coming. Hopefully we start seeing things come a little bit quicker, because I am enjoying the game. I'm curious what else they're going to bring to it. So there's my thoughts. Ultimately, yes, I think the game is going to be successful, but again, I think it's in the hands of the company as well. We've seen older games be successful, even though it's not drawing in a bunch of money. We've seen games fail, even if it's a successful IP. So we'll see how this game goes. Very curious on your thoughts. What do you think? What do you think about the game? Are you enjoying the game? Have you tried it yet? If you haven't tried it yet, why? What's stopping you? And if you are, and you're continuing to play it, what's keeping you playing the game? All right, everybody, that's what I had for you. As always, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts and questions in the comment section below. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.